So, shall we begin?
Yes.
So, now we come to the verse number 19. Is the state of the mind for a person who is become or becoming or in a yoga or attaining the yogi, how it would be. So, if we were to take that scenario, it's like a lamb in a windless place. If a lamp is kept in a place where it doesn't have wind, it doesn't flicker. In the same way, if a yogi is there, his mind does not vibrate or flicker or does not get into this and that. And he is within himself. That's how this sage would be. Now let's understand what the deeper impact of this. Normally, we are spread out in two extremes, attraction and repulsion. This is the normal, natural way of working. Even if you were to look at your husband and wife, children, relatives, friends, colleagues, places, products, services, name by whatever, we always have liking for something and disliking for something. In a wife, I like certain attributes she has, and it makes me feel happy. And there are certain attributes I don't like, and that makes me feel unhappy. So, this wife is filled with happiness and unhappiness. Then the same holds good for the husband. There are certain qualities in the husband which I like it, and there are qualities in the husband which I don't like. Let us say the wife and the husband. The husband does not procrastinate and he is very aggressive to do the thing right now and doesn't give up till the work is done. And the wife is of a kind who is not so obsessed with doing that and she relaxes and she doesn't want to do it. Now, what happens? Conflict is going to be there because there is an ownership of the wife and a ownership of the husband. So, when we marry, we are marrying the ownership. When we buy a product, we buy the ownership. Ownership is always dukkha because you're owning something where you don't have any option. You can't return it back. So every product has fault, dosha, and every product has a dukkha. It might not work the way it was meant to be. So every relationship worth the name has a fault, dosha. It does not work the way one want it to work. Let's say I have a daughter, she's 18 and she wants to get married. I'll say, have you gone mad? But I have a daughter where I have found a son in law, it's my choice, and I will convince my daughter. That is agreeable because the parents decide that it is good for the child to get married at 18 or 20 or whatever. But when the child comes with the same argument that I want to stay with this man, the parents generally don't agree. They feel that they can rule over that child. As the same case, the child thinks that she can or he can rule over the parents. So let's say somebody doesn't want to get married. Then there is compulsion of getting married. Then somebody wants to get married. There's a compulsion of not getting married because there is a particular age to get married. But the body doesn't know that there is an age for getting married. The aspect of the body is to produce children. That's all. That's upakarana, equipment. That equipment get ready at 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever that age is. And the same thing in a boy and same thing in a girl. It doesn't really matter. But we have these rules and regulations which are beyond the body, as though they are more prominent than the body itself. So we have this liking to do something and disliking to do something, and that's called as flicker or shaking. The mind shakes towards either this or that. If the child is not marrying, the parents are worried. If the child is marrying, then also parents are worried. If the child doesn't want to stay with that woman or the man, again the parents are worried. If the child is not able to conceive, then they're again worried. If they both decide not to have a child, also they are worried, because there's always a flicker. The flicker here is that I want my way to work. So either the father would do that, or the mother will do it, or both will do it, because they own the child, not realizing that that child which has come in their life is not a child. It is a runanubandha. That person is supposed to fleece things from this person and kill the person completely. That is what it is meant to be. The wife which has come is not come to enjoy with this person. By giving something, this lady is going to extract every penny this person had owed in his past birth. And the same with the husband. He has got this girl to use her body, to use her mind, to use every given thing, that she ultimately doesn't have anything. So she has to give everything to this person. So basically, in this transaction world, there's always a flicker of I like and I don't like, and I always remain. So foolishly, the person keeps on trying to correct the situation, thinking that if he or she is able to solve the situation, the problem is going to come, or problem is going to get resolved, not realizing that the situation is there because of his karma, not because the situation has come to him right now out of a blue or out of nowhere, something like that. It is what it is because he or she is supposed to undergo that pleasure if they have done punya, or pain if they have done papa. Now, as long as this individual remain thinking that I am, this pain and pleasure cycle is going to continue. So 99% of the people are always in relieving themselves of the pain, in search of pleasure. So it's like somebody pinching very hard and stops that pinching. That person feels pleasure. Then again pinching. Again there is a relief from the pinch. Again, it is pleasure. But what is happening is the pinching is removed. Pleasure is not got there. That's a thorough misunderstanding that pleasure was there. There was no pleasure. It was just the removal of the pinching. The anxiety of getting pinched is removed. So the person finds something very pleasurable. He doesn't realize that what is really happening is beyond his comprehension. Why it is beyond his comprehension? Because he believes he himself is enjoying and suffering. So he keeps on changing the views of his parents, the views of his children, the view of his friends and relatives, just to think that that is how it should work. So there's always a flicker. The lamp, what is lit, is flickering and flickering and flickering. Never be able to stabilize. He's pulled in all directions. Whereas the yogi has understood this funny problem. He's understood that as long as personality view exists in me, that I take anything personally, the flicker is going to be there either as a raga or dvesha. These two poles are going to be there. So then he lets go of the personality within him. He sees that everything is happening not because he wanted it to happen, or this not happening because he wanted not to happen. Just like sky and the cloud. The cloud believes that it is doing something to the sky, unmindful that the cloud has come due to condition, the necessary condition for its survival. If the food were to be removed from that, it's not going to.
Hello?
So basically that is the whole cause of the problem, that I keep the personality and this yogi doesn't keep the personality because he's understood what is bound to happen. So he still has pain and pleasure, but he doesn't entertain them in his mind. So there would be physical pain, doesn't matter. There is no mental pain. There is physical pleasure, doesn't matter, but there is no mental pleasure. He is in equipoise, neither getting attached by the pleasure or by the pain. So that's the way one needs to see, and there is no flicker. So this is a very nice shloka to say where you are. If your mind doesn't flicker, that means you are a yogi. If the mind is flickering, that what should I do with my wife or husband or children, or whether they are going to study, they are not going to study, what will happen after lockdown period, after this period or that period, uh, will I have my grandchildren, will I have this, will I have that, that's flicker. So that person can never get into nirvikalpa samadhi. The maximum the person can get in his or her lifetime is savikalpa samadhi. There is no way this person can get into nirvikalpa samadhi. So one of the rule of the game for getting into nirvikalpa samadhi is moving ahead of the duality. As long as the duality exists, the person can get only savikalpa, self-imagined God. That is good enough. At least he's happy to see his deity coming in front of him or her. That's a very good achievement in that life. But that is not nirvikalpa. That is not nirguna at all. It still has the taint of sattva guna. And due to sattva guna, the person again undertakes birth. May not be in human realm of existence at all, but there is rebirth. So the person should get into niruddha. Out of the 5, he should get into niruddha. The maximum a person always is in vikshipta. So more than 50-60% of the people are in mudha. They don't even know what the world is and what the reality is. They just associate themselves with themselves. Very tamasic in nature. So the majority of the human population, irrespective of the religions they follow, the faith they follow, the traditions they follow, they are in mudha. For them, everything is motivation driven. Again, a flicker. So somebody should motivate them with something. You will get this. And that's the reason the falastuti is there. At the end of every mantra, there is falastuti. That is for the majority of the population. Without the phala, nobody will do anything, because they would love to have that. Whereas the person who is in a rajas state of mind can be in kshipta or vikshipta. So depends on his mental state. He's better than the mudha. So out of the 100% population, 60% are like that. In that, let's say, out of the balance, 20-30% would be in the state of deluded idea of rajas, which is kshipta state of mind. Then another 10% would be in the vikshipta state of mind. So they do meditation every day, they do sandhya vandanam, they do all kind of things, and they feel relaxed for some time. Then they start their daily activities and they forget all about it. Then sometimes they remember, again they do it, again they forget about it. It's better. They are better than the other 2 lot. Then in the last 10%, let's say, the 9% of them might get into ekagrata, wherein the person is able to get the divine in front of him. Savikalpa samadhi. That deity is come in front of him. His mind is pure, so he is able to establish, or she is able to establish that deity in his or her mind. And that consciousness, which is pure and bright, is able to get that deity in front of him. And the balance 1%, if at all, they can get into the niruddha. So what Krishna is talking about is that last kind. Lamp in the windless place refers to that last 1% or even less than 1%, where the person does not have duality at all. And that person is a realized sage. Now we come into the nirvikalpa samadhi state, how it looks. So now this mind has attained quietude, and it has restrained itself with sense and sense objects, perception about the senses. So let's understand what's the meaning of perception. From the time of our birth till today, all that we have learned is that as soon as we feel something, we've been asked to memorize something, and that becomes the perception. As soon as the child cries, the mother is told that the child is doing very well, and then the child is fed. Immediately, there is a connection between the child and the mother. The mother forgets that it is not its child, it is just a child. There's no my child. Just because it is feeding that child, the mother immediately feels this is my child. And that's the starting point of the bondage. Just like the starting point of bondage is the husband. And now we can have the same thing. This is perception. This is perceived reality, not absolute reality. But when the mind is pure, it doesn't get attached to it. The mother, as a role, is feeding the child, knows very clearly it is not its child. There is no mine in the child, because that is a being which has come into existence to take things from that mother from the day one of its birth. What a painful situation, what a pitiable situation. So we should have compassionate to see that some being has come and going to rip off this mother. But the moha will say, no, it's not. It is my child. Fair. Then the mind cannot be in quietude. It's always agitated to do something or the other. So it becomes restless. When there is restlessness, it pulls towards the mudha, towards the tamas, because rajas ultimately establishes itself safely in tamas. It cannot establish itself in sattva. The heaviness is what is taken. So that is the reason, if you even look at the kundalini, the serpent lies below, doesn't go up, because it is tamas, it is sleeping. So the deluded world always sleeps, and that's the reason Vivekananda said, arise and awake. That's the basic reason what he meant. You arise to the reality, and now you're awakened to the reality that nothing comes out of blue or out of coincidence. Everything has a cause, everything has a result. Condition creates the causes, and the result is the part of the same condition. So when the mind is in quietude, it is disengaged from the senses. So the sense perception don't go behind the sense objects. There is no need. Without sense objects to enjoy, there is no suffering either. If there is a pleasure in the sense objects, then there would be a pain of losing those sense objects. If there is a pleasure of enjoying the child, then there is a pain of losing the child. If there is a pleasure of gaining a wife, there is a pain of losing the wife. And same with every relationship. But when there is no pleasure at all, where is the question of losing anything? When you have not gained anything, you don't lose anything. So this person himself sees this self, which has no duality. And now he is satisfied with his own self. He now sees relief from this pain of samsara to maintain something. Now there is no need to maintain, it's there. There is no happiness outside, because outside is only the pain. The sense objects are painful. Why are they painful? Because they are conditioned. If there is a condition on how you get that, meaning I could have got the girl without marrying and still had a son, but that is not called for. So I need to get thing called as married or marriage. But the body doesn't know there is a thing called as marriage. It's a funny arrangement. And all of a sudden, people bless, saying that, oh, now you're married, you can now have a child. Isn't it conditioned? And as though you can get a child as soon as you marry. So again, a condition. If the condition matches, then there is a child. If the condition doesn't matches, no child. So it is basically a funny game of conditions and no condition, and condition and no condition, condition and no condition. So it is a repetitive process. One who attains nirvikalpa knows these conditions, can see the condition, and he doesn't get attached to himself to the condition. So then what happens to him? He abides by his own self, doesn't get attached to the sense objects which are conditioned. Every sense object is conditioned. The rupa is conditioned. The shabda is conditioned. The gandha is conditioned. The rasa is conditioned. Then the sparsha is conditioned. Then the chintana, thoughts, they also arise out of condition. If there were no condition, it wouldn't arise. So if there is absolutely no condition anywhere, there is no birth and death either. Only because of the necessary condition, we are born here. And as soon as the condition starts maturing, we call it as decay. And when the condition stops, it's called as death. Punarapi jananam punarapi maranam punarapi janani jatare shayanam. If we were to take that, that's basically what a normal person is doing. He wants to exist. So again he finds a womb. Again he calls somebody as mother. And that mother will feed. Then he stays for 9.5 months or 10 months in that filthy little thing called as stomach and uterus, and comes out and starts leading life of filth, and goes again back to filth. So as long as this individual ego exists as I, so long the person is going to be in the samsara. So a person who sees this very thing gets totally dislodged from there. He immediately gets into vairagya because there is no point. It's foolishness. That's what the Viveka Chudamani talks about. What can be more foolish than this? That even after getting a human birth, you are still, or I am still, running around the same stuff without even considering that it is so untrue. So, this is the state of nirvikalpa samadhi. When the person himself is satisfied with himself, this satisfaction comes when the sense objects no longer torture the senses. He is detached from the sense objects. Now, what happens then? Now, this infinite bliss is seen. What is this infinite bliss? Infinite bliss is a state of seeing that there are no conditions. There is conditioned bliss. What is that? Oh, I am enjoying it. I did a meditation for 1 hour. It was so nice. It was blissful experience. And after that, what happened? No, I again came back. I started working. I forgot all about it. Okay, so the bliss is gone. But this one is infinite. There is no sense either. The previous nirvikalpa was removal of the sense objects. Now he doesn't have the senses either. There is no sight, there is no chakshu, the eye, there is no ear, there is no thing called as tongue, there is no thing called as nose, there is no thing called as the body, there is no thing called as a mind. If this is also given up as me and mine, then the person is in infinite bliss because he has transcended the senses. Neither the sense perception works, nor there is any feeling in the senses. He becomes a true sage, worth worshipping because he has transcended. So Shiva is a state when the person does not yearn anything out of the senses and nor get associated with sense objects. And that's the reason Parvati started asking Shiva, teach me how do you do this? And this whole thing what he has taught in 112 steps is called as Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. One of them is you, or one of them is me, which can be tested successfully for 6 months to 1 year, and that is yours. The person gets into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And Maheshwara Sutrani is also part of the same one, basically. Now, if the person gets established, a beautiful thing happens. There is no movement of the thought. Without movement of the thought, there can't be rebirth. Without rebirth, there can't be anything called as death. So what has happened is the chitta has got frozen. It no longer can move to the next existence. So if there is no existence, there is no suffering. If there is no suffering, what is the person can do? Basically nothing. He just stays till his karmic cycle is over in that body. Once that is over, that's it. The lamp goes away. Nobody can say where the light went. You can't search, because to search that requires a thought. So he says here, Vetti yatra nacha eva ayam stitaha chalati tattvataha. In the 21st verse, that's a beautiful line. Vetti yatra nacha eva ayam stitaha chalati tattvataha. Knowing that and getting established freezes the thought once and for all. There is no vritti. And if there is no vritti, there exists nirodha. Nir plus uddha. Uddha is to arise. Nir is stopping. If the water gets frozen permanently, it's called as permafrost. So across Tibet, you can find this permafrost. Even in Ladakh, you can find just like rock, but it's not really a rock. It's a frozen water, millions of years, stayed that way. Now, at least in that case, there is some movement. Here, there is absolutely no movement. If the thought has no movement, there is nothing to be born, because there is nothing to be grasped and nothing to exist. And if nothing is there to exist, then how does a person die? He has attained just now Mrityunjaya. Because the death can come for the thought. Death can never come to a frozen object. What is there to die? And who is dying? The personality. What is this personality? Collection of thoughts. So the thoughts have fear of losing that personality. So people associated with that person has a fear of losing. The person himself has fear of losing. And that's the reason everything is being done in this world to stop this deluge from happening, that the personality shouldn't die. This is the funny side of the equation. The river is flowing. The whirlpool would love to establish itself as another river. It's impossible. It's doing a suicidal job or a futile attempt to establish itself. It cannot happen. And that's merging with the main river is the Brahman. Because the mind can now see that it individually does not exist. And this intellect, buddhi, which was always mahat, universal buddhi does not reverberate again. If there is no shaking of the buddhi, there cannot be anything shaking in the thoughts. There is no grasping as me and myself. So it doesn't establish back. So now, yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tatah yasmin stitah na dukkhena guruna api vichalyate. Having obtained this, how can there be anything more superior than this state or worth aspiring for? So once he is established, he is not moved even by the heaviest of the sorrow. He is so happy to die because he is already dead. What is more to die? The thought, it's already dead. So what's more to die? Nothing. So the sorrow can come when there is movement of thought. When there is absolutely no movement of thought, who is dying? There's nothing. Who has been talking? The thought. Now there is nobody to talk. It cannot go back and pick up the memories. So when the memories are not picked up, from where will you get an existence? So somebody dies, that person is already dead. What more to die? So the wife dies, for him the person is already dead long time ago. Now he has to just throw the body wherever it has to be thrown. If the daughter dies or the son dies, do the same thing. If a relative dies, do the same thing. The parent dies, do the same thing. If he dies, somebody will do that thing. Because he's already dead. Only when a person is alive, thinks that he is alive, or he should be alive, only for him or her, the death is the ultimate blow. For a person who has already died, how can the death do another death? So this is the ultimate happiness. So now the Krishna gives his own definition of the yoga. He says, let it be known, this state of disunion from the samsara gives what? I call this as yoga. From the union which the person came, from the womb from which the person came, from the darkness from which the person came, now he is brought to light. Now he is out of tamas. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Now he has seen the reality. He is fit to be called as Dvija, twice born. One born from the filthy gutter, now born without that. He is released from the gutter. It was such a dirty experience of being in the gutter, which he thought is the best ever experience. Now he finds That is not true. The gutter experience is gutter. What he is experiencing now is Param Shanti. So he disregards the gutter in whichever way it is packaged. Doesn't matter whether it is packaged in gold, whether packaged in platinum, can be packaged in whatever combinations. He throws that gutter and keeps nothing with himself. Because if he keeps anything for himself in his mind, the thoughts start to move. And this is the yoga. So this is when the sorrows end, the lamentation ends, the grief ends, the distress ends, and so the dukkha. Saha nishchayena yaktavyah yogaha anirvinna chetasa. So with determination, nishchayena yoktavyah, put effort in coming out of the gutter. This yoga has to be studied in the mind to disconnect from this ugly world into the eternal peace. Freeze that chitta so that it doesn't move anywhere else. Now he has done what he is supposed to do. And that means this person is released. Now the question comes, how do I get into it? The only answer Krishna provides is Vairagya. Abandoning all desires born of imagination without holding anything onto it, and completely restraining the whole group of senses by the mind from all the sides, just like a tortoise would do. When something touches, it pulls away it pulls its hands and face and becomes a shell. Just make like that. So the only answer to this is Vairagya, nothing else. Because Vairagya shows you that what gutter life was. Anything lesser than Vairagya will only produce a different gift product from that gutter. So, most of the people love to lick the honey in a pool of cess. Once upon a time, there was a cesspool, and somebody was carrying a big pot of honey, and it fell into the cesspool, and it was floating on the surface of the cesspool. He knows if he jumps into the cesspool, he's going to drown. But the desire for possessing that honey is so much that he thinks that whatever is there on the surface, at least let me lick it. So he starts licking. He licks little. Then he feels, yeah, I can lick little more and little more and he falls into the cesspool. And with he falling into the cesspool, there is no way he can recover himself back, because it keeps on rotating and rotating and rotating. And that's what we have done. We have wanted to lick that honey. But without vairagya, that honey will look as honey. But for a person who is viragi, he knows the danger of that honey. He knows that from there only he has come out. After millions of births in different wombs and different fashion and different way of presentation of the five elements, now he has come out. Why should he now get attached to this cesspool? What is the need? So this is the thing what we need to see in reality. Not about the children, not about the husband, not about the wife, not about the parent, not about anything. The karmas were made, prarabdha. At least we can stop the sanchita and the agami. Or let us say, can I extinguish the karma? Yes. Don't produce anything in the mind. Don't lick the honey. You have seen at what it is. Don't go near. There is a well and there's a board. Don't jump into the well. But I see that there is a gem. And I think that I can get this gem and then sell it. I can see it in the bottom of the of that well. It's not too deep. So I use all my tricks to get that gem. But sooner or later, I realize that I need to jump into the well to get the gem. Well, here it is. It is written, don't jump into the well to get the gem. It's not worth it. But the desire says, no, at least you try. Why should you just give up just because somebody has put a board? So I jump into the well, not realizing that once I jump into the well, I can't come out. So without being in vairagya, nothing is possible. Then he says, Shanaihi Shanaihi Uparamet Buddhya Dhriti Grititaya Atma Samstham Manakritva Nakinchit Tabi Chintayet. Okay, there are people who cannot climb up. Okay, no problem. Let them do little by little. Buddhya Dhriti. Dhriti is Dhi is Buddhi. So Dhriti means the strength of the Buddhi, firmness. Grihitaya, let him hold it. So with the intellect held in firmness, let him believe that he can do it. Now that he's fallen in the well, let him use his intellect. Let him first what he should do, he should drop off that jewel which he has held it. He has to drop that off. Then only he can. Another example we can take is there is a monkey. And there is this monkey catcher. He has a glass bowl exactly to fit the hand of the monkey. And he has put bananas in that. Now the monkey comes. It wants to pick up that banana. It wants to create a new set of karma. So it puts his hand into the bowl, gets the banana, but the monkey catcher is coming. What should the monkey do? It cannot lift that bowl, it's heavy, and it is stuck to the ground. It cannot pull it. So, what it should do? It should drop the banana if it wants to save itself. So, if you want liberation, you have to drop name and forms. If you don't want liberation, or if I don't want liberation, I can enjoy name and forms. Beautiful. Keep the wife, keep the husband, keep the children, keep everything, come back again, do the same thing. Absolutely fine. So we are in a hanging bridge. We keep on hanging, and the bridge can fall any day, but still that hanging thing is there. That's the fun. So what he's saying is that let this person Atma samstham manakritva, having made up his mind and established in the true self, not in his ego self, nakinchapi chintayet, let him not think anything, because a thought will again get him into trouble. Let it remain frozen. So it means that a gentle climb, slow and steady, in different births, will ultimately make him succeed at last if he keeps on practicing. For those people who want to attain in this life, should get into Vairagya very next moment. For those people who cannot yet transcend it, okay, let them do at their own pace, no worries. Whenever that happens, it happens. But without Vairagya, nothing can be got. So, how do we progress? First, we need to have control over the mano, mind control. Limit this I as the doer. Second, put the speech under control. Third, remove the ahankara from itself. Fourth, use the intellect to separate it out. Five, understand what the Atma is all about. Na karta, na bhokta. So there is no person there. And there is nobody sitting in the body either, because it is reflected consciousness. It's like a moon shining on 100 different buckets. All along I knew there are 100 moons. Because everything what the moon is doing, the water is also doing. Or the bucket is also doing. So I think I am existing as an individual. Now I have seen that there is no person at all in this body. There is no Atma in the body. It's just the mind and the body. There is no thing called as Atma. Then he is released. So the Atma Ananda, what we are talking is about knowing that you are just an instrument. So the bucket now knows that it is just a bucket with the water. The moon is not established in the bucket or in the water. That is Atmananda. Paramananda is, or Brahmananda is, there is no identification of the moon at all. Knowing very clearly the moon never existed in that bucket. Bimba Pratibimba, if we were to take as an example. Bimba is that which is reflecting or that it is shining, and pratibimba is the image made out of that what is shining. The mistake is that the mirror is the mind. It reflects whatever is shown. So it get established on the mirror, thinking itself to be that self, but it is not. So until we come to this stage that nobody is living in the body, and that is the reason when you get sick, you can't do anything. When you fall down, you can't do anything. When you are growing, you can't do anything. When you are aging, you can't do anything. When the gray hair comes, that Atma cannot do anything of changing it from the gray hair to black hair, even though it is capable of doing it. So, as long as the person keeps a view that Atma exists in me, he is going to come back again and again in different buckets. From this bucket, he falls, and the next bucket is ready. So, this is what Krishna is saying: don't do. Leave it to me. Don't take that to you. So this is what we are supposed to be doing. I think we are past 9:30. Should we continue or shall we do tomorrow or Monday?
I think Monday may be okay, or another 5-10 minutes if any questions.
Yeah, I think so.
No questions, huh?
That's what I'm thinking. Any questions are there or not?
All very clear?
Yeah, clear means intellectually clear. Yes.
Anything, any questions?
Yeah, Lata.
Go ahead.
To reach Saguna Brahman. Sorry?
Yeah,
I said go ahead.
Okay, it is easier to reach Saguna Brahman.
Yes. It is easy to get Saguna Brahman. That's why.
But, even when your mind is distracted, you can still reach Saguna Brahman.
Yes.
Okay, I thought when you're earlier, even that also when your mind is steady, only you can reach.
No, you can. That is the reason we have the puja. The whole concept of puja and bhakti is to get the Saguna Brahman. Because what we are supposed to do is pour that rajas into sattva rather than it's going to tamas. So then the Saguna Brahman gets established.
So even if your mind is scattered, you can still establish.
Yes.
Because earlier I was thinking that unless until you reach some kind of level, you cannot reach that Saguna Brahman.
No, what happens here is that the mudha will turn into kshipta to vikshipta and ekagrata. So at the time it becomes ekagrata, the Saguna is established.
Okay, fine. So let's say, that is you are talking about this the last 20%, the 10%.
Yes, the 10%.
Or the last 10%, 9%.
9%. Yes.
Okay. So that's also not that very common.
No, that is not common, but it is good. I mean, 99% or 90% of the people do the puja as a puja with fear that God will do something to me, whether they are called as Hindus or Christians or Muslims or whatever it is. So they go to the church or they go to the mosque, they go to the temple, they do all kind of puja, worship, this, that, just to please the God. They don't know that they themselves are the God. There is no difference between them and is anything called as God. So they fear. Just like I see in Tirupati or any other place, as soon as they enter into the sanctum, sanctorium, the whole mood changes. Okay. And they don't mind paying any amount of money to get into that place. It is such a useless thing to do. But that's how the mind is. So
even when there is a fear in the mind and the fearful way you worship the god or do the puja, still the Saguna
Brahman will get established because that mind is able to get clear ekagrata at one point or time or the other.
Okay.
See, now I have done a puja and then in the vision, the Krishna or the Sri Hari or whomever I believe, like Srinivasa or whatever it is, comes in the dream and starts talking to me, then I have created already the Saguna Brahman. Now,
okay.
I want to repeat it again and again. So whenever I do that puja and I sleep, that dream comes or the vision comes and I start performing as per that. Then I inform to somebody that, look, Srinivasa came in my vision and said that I need to do this. So I'm doing it. And few people will join and say that, yeah, he is saying it is true. And things also start happening. As I say, it happens. So I'm able to see some person and say that, look, you have fever, and not even touched him. And then I give him something and he eats it, and then the fever is gone. So then in the night again, the Srinivasa comes and says that, look, yesterday you gave this guy the sugar, and I have come and given this to him, and it is cured. Good, I will now use your body to do all of this. So he keeps on doing it, and now his faith increases in the Srinivasa. And then it so happens that he starts remaining in the ekagrata all the time, from the state of the kshipta, vikshipta, is coming into ekagrata. Ekagrata is when the sattva guna shines. So it is able to manifest whatever is there in the mind. If the Srinivasa is there in the mind, it manifests Srinivasa. If Vishnu is there in the mind, then Vishnu. Then if I have Saraswati in the mind, Saraswati. If I have Lakshmi in the mind, Lakshmi. Then if I have anybody in the mind, it just establishes that person. Saguna Brahman. So I can enter into Savikalpa Samadhi at will now. Because and then the people start worshipping, because now things are happening. I become popular that I can give this vibhuti or that sugar or this mantrakshata or whatever it is, and it is working. That person, that is, if it happens to me, does not realize it is happening due to Brahman, not because of that Savikalpa Samadhi. So the moment I give up that, throw it out of the mind, then I enter into the nirguna. Otherwise, I am still in sattva guna. So now what happens? If I am in the saguna, there is still I there. I still exist because I am doing it. Nirguna, there is no I. There is no duality. In saguna, I can still do mistake. In nirguna, there is no mistake because I don't exist to do anything. The thoughts are frozen.
So after you reach Saguna Brahman, then you need to do this kind of investigations, and then only you can reach Nirguna Brahman.
Yes.
Automatically you cannot reach.
Automatically you cannot reach. So the clay and the pot, what is there in Vedanta, starts from once you attain Saguna Brahman.
Okay.
The Jnana Marga is direct investigation.
Yeah, correct. So that is a direct path. Yes. Initially, I never used to understand when you say direct path. Only so always used to say direct path, direct path. So I was wondering what was this direct path. So for me, all paths were what do you say? Not direct. So now I have understood. Meaning not now, meaning the last few months.
Okay, good.
So once you reach Saguna Brahman, then you have to move into this
Investigation.
Dhyana Marga and then investigate and contemplate. Then you reach, at one point of time, you reach
Nirguna. Nirguna. So the sattva is also gone. So you transcend the three gunas.
I have seen some people, they go to during this puja, especially Swamiji's kind of people, they go to that transcendental stage, then they forget about themselves.
Yes.
So when they are doing that Sri Chakra puja or the deity puja, that time it is Saguna Brahma they are praying.
Yes.
And when they go to transcendental stage, what happens? They are still in the Saguna Brahma stage.
They are always in the Saguna.
They are already in Nirguna.
No. They are in Saguna only. Nirguna is that when you come, you don't exist basically to do anything. So you'll not. They will be shaking their body, and so many things are happening because they are in Saguna. But you should see the eyes of the Shiva in meditation. There are, if you go to Mahabaleshwar, sorry, not Mahabaleshwar, Gokarna.
Yeah, I know. It is like a half closed.
Half closed, yeah.
He's not looking at what do you call this world.
Yes.
He's looking inside.
Yes.
That kind of scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Murudeshwara.
Ah.
Okay, there if you see the Shiva, how they have drawn is like half open, half closed. He is open to the reality and he is closed to the world. So anybody getting into that Nirguna state will be closed, it will be open to reality and close to the world. So that eyes...
The Isha Yoga Center is also like that.
Yeah, even in the Isha Yoga Center, that is what it is. Yeah, Coimbatore, the Isha, they have made that. So half open, half closed. Even in the Buddha statues, you will see the eyes are half open, half closed. So it is close to the world and open to the reality. Meaning, he sees nothing but himself in everything. But there is no I. There is no personalization that I am doing it. I am this or I am that. Saguna is that I have something. So there is still I remaining. So now I can say Sri Raghavendra came to in my dream and I'm doing this and this happening, that happening. Okay, very nice. The devotion has worked. Srinivasa came in my vision and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Very good. Rama came in my vision, I'm doing this, doing that. Very good. It is better than the normal worldling who doesn't even know that Saguna Brahman can be achieved. But Nirguna is totally different. You're transcended everything. There's no residue of any thought left. There's no thought. It's frozen.
So when you are in that stage, there is no need of any food also, right? You have totally forgotten this world.
Yes.
You have no dependency.
There is no dependency. So the food is mental food first and then the physical food. So even if he partakes the physical food, he doesn't get attached to that food.
Yeah. So that's the reason they're able to meditate in that stage for a very long time.
Yes, and that is the reason we show Shiva in the most odd dress. See, Shiva is a beautiful state of mind. But how it is shown, you see that he has the skin of an animal. Whereas the Vishnu and all the other deities are with jewelries and pearls and this and that. Only Shiva is literally nude. What it means? He is nude of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. The only deity whom you can pray for liberation is Shiva. Nobody else. Nobody is even worth of saying that, because he has transcended Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. He is nude. He has Damaru, which means that he is exactly saying what he is doing. And he is Rudra, because he makes people cry for their sins. And when the child comes out, it cries. It forgets that it was once upon a time Shiva. Now it has entered into the world of crying. And it cries and cries and cries forever. And after death, again it is born to again cry. Only Shiva is one who has transcended the tears, because he doesn't exist. And that is the reason he is called Adi Yogi. Nobody can match the skill of Shiva. He doesn't wear anything. He has a snake as his garland. What it shows is that snake is the serpent power. He has raised his kundalini. And the Ganga on his head, he is filled with knowledge of reality. So people who hate Shiva literally are those people who don't know what is the state of Shiva. If I become nude, Digambara, right now, with Sattva, Rajas, Tamas not being there, I am released from this world of duality. So it is such a good state to be a Digambara. The only shameful thing is the genital. So if I were to give up this shame and the lust with genital, both being there, one side the shame, another side is the lust for genital. If I were to give up like Shiva, who removed Kama, who burned the Kama completely, the Rati couldn't do anything. Without Kama, the Rati cannot do anything. So that being gone, it's a perfect, peaceful state. And that's the yogi. So Adi Yogi is that. Nobody can be as yogi as Shiva. So that is the state where we should head ourselves to. So worshipping Shiva is the right thing to do if somebody wants liberation, because he is not supposed to keep anything for himself. Everything has to be given up. So he's given up.
Good.
And that's the reason it says Satyam Shivam Sundaram.
Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Yes. What is Satyam? I understood Shivam is God. And what is Sundaram with respect to spirituality here?
Sundara is that if you don't move anywhere, you are Sundara, right? You are not going to age, correct?
Oh, not aging. Mm-hmm.
What is aging? Movement of thoughts.
Deterioration.
Yes, deterioration. If the thoughts don't move, then where are you dying? There is no death. And that is the reason it is called Mrityunjaya. The Chamaka and the Rudra has that.
Mrityunjaya. Oh, Mrityunjaya is because there is no movement. If there is a movement, there is beginning and end. But
yes,
here,
correct.
no death.
There is no death.
Okay.
See, the thought creates life. If there is no thought, where is life? You have to be born to die. If there is no birth, where is death?
this Shiva is called for mrityu, right? For if anything is born, the death is called Yama. Yama is nothing but Shiva's another Rupa.
No, Yama means rules. If somebody has set the rule, he will not die. Somebody has followed the rules, he will never die. He will become Mrityunjaya.
Then why Shiva's maximum things are happening in Smashana?
What is Smashana? Let's understand that. Smashana means a place where you give up everything. So it is a pictorial representation that ultimately you have to give up everything. So that's the reason Shiva is always in Smashana.
So ending this journey, so-called.
Exactly, ending the journey of Kama. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, all the 6 are gone. That will go where? That will go in Smashana.
See, we use the word Vishnu, for Vishnu Bhaktas, they say, you have to go to Vishnu Pada, from there, the next loka. But here, you are going to Shiva Loka or Smashana, and beyond that,
Nothing.
What is that called?
Nothing. It is
nothing only?
It is nothing means it is completely peaceful at that state itself. You don't have to go anywhere in search of it. See, in Brahma, it is only creation. In Vishnu, it is sustenance. And in Shiva, it is destruction. So what does Shiva destroy? The ego. The individuality is removed. So it is better to pray Shiva rather than sustaining in Vishnu.
Sustaining Vishnu gives a feel that you will have, if you are there with the Pada, you will be keep on having another Janma as a Bhakta.
Yes.
So idea is not to remain as Bhakta, detach that also.
Yes, that is correct. As a creator, I have an ego. As a sustainer, I have this ability to keep on being born again and again and again. As a destroyer, I remove the ego. I remove myself. So then that mantra would make sense. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhi pushti vardhanam urvarka bandhanat mrityor mukshi yamamrutat. Ma amrutat, right?
Yes.
Ma is to cut. Amruta is without death. Cutting the life, cutting the existences is what that whole mantra is all about. And people just recite it thinking that they're not going to die.
Yeah, the thing is for Dirgaisha, when somebody is in the hospital, people recite. Actually, this should be recited when somebody is dying, right?
Correct. No, when somebody is dead. Meaning, when the person's thoughts are dead, you should say that Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushti vardhanam. Tra ayambaka means moving from rajas tamas, that is sattva rajas and tamas. And then the sugandhim pushti vardhanam is going to happen. Sugandha is good, and a good fragrance. When does the good fragrance come? When it is transcended of gunas. Because guna is filthy. And there is another Shiva stotra. Trigunam, Trigunakaram, Trinetrancha, Triyayudam, Trijanma Papa Samharam, Eka Bilvam Shivarpanam. I think you would have heard about that also.
Yeah.
See, that first line itself says that Trigunam, Triguna Akaram, Trinetrancha, Triyayudham, Tri Ayudha.
Yes.
Trijanma Papa Samharam, Eka Bilvam Shivarpanam. Now the Triguna.
Bilva is also 3 there.
Bilva is also 3. So you transcend all the 3, you are in a deathless state.
Interesting.
We have everything, but then we only recite it. That's a problem.
There are so many things, three: Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, Pullinga, Strilinga, Mutsalinga, Bhuta, Vartamana, Bhavishya,
Correct.
Tanu, Mana, Dana, Kaya, Vacha, Manasa,
Correct.
Sattva, Raja, Tama, Prarabdha, Sanchita, Agami. Wow.
And what is that? Raga, Dvesha, Moha.
Yes. Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivika.
Yes, all three only.
Yes.
You remove three, you are out. You're done.
Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Again 3.
Yes.
Jagrita, Swapna, Sushupti. 3.
Okay, time for attending the next meeting.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
day.
much. Yeah, good day. Bye bye. See you on
Bye.
Monday. Bye.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Bye.